the Department of Communication in Phillipsburg. This is 30 Minutes with Government.
Hello, and welcome to 30 Minutes with Government. I'm your host, Giselle Misunan-York. In today's edition of 30 Minutes with Government, we take a look at the recently held one-day conference by child protection agencies and judges of the Joint Court of Justice of the Dutch Caribbean. We recap the session with health economist Dr. Stanley Lalter, who spoke during the National Health Insurance Week sessions at the D.V. Little Bay Beach Hotel. Ministers Marlin and Jacobs extend condolences on the passing of the late Mr. George Frederick Adolphus York. And finally, we will hear from the Minister of Culture, Youth and Sport Affairs as she congratulates our local students on the recently held interscholastic school athletic competition. These stories and more on 30 Minutes with Government. Stay tuned.
(2017) Public Holiday Schedule. Good Friday, Friday, April 14th. Easter Sunday, Sunday, April 16th. Easter Monday, Monday, April 17th. King's Day, Thursday, April 27th. Labor Day, Monday, May 1st. Carnival Day, Tuesday, May 2nd. Ascension Day, Thursday, May 25th. Whit Sunday, Sunday, June 4th. Emancipation Day, Saturday, July 1st. Constitution Day, Monday, October 9th. St. Martin's Day, Saturday, November 11th. Christmas Day, Monday, December 25th. Boxing Day, Tuesday, December 26th. And New Year's Day, Monday, January 1st, 2018. The 2017 public holiday schedule can also be viewed on the official website of the Government of St. Martin, www.stmartingov.org.
On Friday, February 3rd, the child protection agencies of the Dutch Caribbean and judges of the Joint Court of Justice of Aruba, Curacao, St. Martin, Bonaire, St. Eustatius, and Saba held a one-day conference on St. Martin entitled The Child as Focus of Attention in the Caribbean, Together We Are Stronger. The conference was initiated and hosted by Dutch dependents Bonaire, St. Eustatius, and Saba, otherwise known as the Best Islands, and were attended by representatives from the Best Islands and St. Martin. The related entities, the Court of Guardianship, Child Protection Services, Center of Youth and Family, and the court officials came together to discuss the legal framework of protective measures, matters related to alimony requests and/or collection, and other matters of interest. Speaking at the opening of the conference were Minister of Justice, Mr. Raphael Bosman, and Director of the Court of Guardianship, Mrs. Richelda Rodriguez Emmanuel.
Entering the room and having come in myself from the civil servants for many years, and I look around and got a bit of a briefing as to what the intention is this morning. I think it's such a fantastic idea, the initiative that you have taken. Many times, in occasions like these, different dignitaries, we get at the podium and we start speaking how important the child is and the youth, and we tell everybody that you're the future of tomorrow, etc., etc. And those have become cliches in all of the speeches that we do. But the reality is you. The reality in dealing with the issues of that child and the development of that child, both in positive and negative ways, represented right in this room. Some of you, we would hope that the child never really have to get in contact with down the road. And then it is where we realize how that how that chain works, and all what has to be done, and which also includes many people who are not in this room today, in order to be able to achieve the goal. You think on the Court of Guardianships, for instance, and the important role that is played in the whole development, protection, etc. of the rights of the child. I don't think enough is known by the community at large as to what you do. The fact that the decision was taken to get together, and these are the events that reflect that, remind us sometimes that we have a real kingdom, that we, in areas definitely where it's necessary and where it counts, we can get together and we can work together. And what better goal to do that working together for than for something like the rights of the child. I want to wish you a very successful day today in your deliberations. I hope many good suggestions and agreements of cooperation would flow out of this session today. And as far as my ministry, the Ministry of Justice, is concerned, I can assure you that these matters would be given high priority. And I know I said that in a couple of speeches with some other things, so just know I will have to start prioritizing the priorities with everything that needs a high priority, but that is serious. And as far as the government in totality of St. Martin is concerned, I think yesterday we had a meeting with the Council of Ministers on this particular topic, and I can assure you that my colleagues and ministers are very, very serious and concerned and more than willing to do whatever needs to be done to make sure that our kids, our children are protected and have a safe and decent development so that they can be productive citizens.
Within this selection of persons present, we have key areas in the chain of protecting our children. The judges are present, and I think this is a combination that we never did before in a larger setting. The judges present, the Court of Guardianship and the family guardianship entities. I think we should give each other a round of applause. Because if we focus and we ask ourselves, what is the job that we do actually? What is the core business of our work? It is to ensure the well-being of our children in areas where, yes, the parents are responsible for the upbringing, the well-being of the children, but we know that far too often there are cases where they're not able to ensure that basic well-being and development of their children. And that we have a role to play in not only monitoring, but when necessary, intervening so that they continue to be on the right track. And the reality is also that while it is not the majority of our society, some of our children end up in the justice chain. Some of our children end up in the chain of needing the protection being imposed. Some of the children and families end up in a situation where we have to apply a legal frame. And we are those keepers of the well-being of our children in that legal frame as Court of Guardianship, family guardianship, and judges. And so today I would like to say at the beginning that our being here together is of substance because it also reflects the commitment that we have as entities to making sure that it's not only paper and law and process and procedures, but that they're done in such a way that it actually translates into what is in the best interest of the child. That is what our focus is today. And that also individually, my request to you is individually to bear that in mind as we start these sessions, that it's not just a workshop and it's gezellig to be together from all the countries and work together, but that it helps us to focus on what is our core business and where are we in that chain of making sure that the protection is executed in a way that is in the best interest of the child. And then I'm sure, because I know the most of you sitting here, I am sure that it would help us to better execute our different work areas. It would help us to better understand the different roles that we have within that chain. It would help us to better communicate with each other and not, it's like, but this is my work to do and that's yours. No, but together, ultimately, our goal is the best interest of the children that we have to protect within our society. I want to thank again Kervin for the initiative and also the fact that we've been talking about making sure that this happens on a regular basis as management on the one hand, but it's so much better to have all of staff members present and the other persons representing the chain within the Ministry of Justice, but also welzijn, volgens mij voor de jongen welzijn toch in Nederland, in de BES. And while they say that Aruba physically could not be present in the sense of that our colleagues that work in this chain within Aruba could not come, I can assure you Aruba is well represented in this hall. Just we'll move forward that their representation is also here. Okay? Let's have a great session today together, but most of all, let's be able to go and execute it in the works that we do. I'm sure that we would be able to say after these sessions that we are even more equipped to not only individually as a worker within this chain or one of the entities, but as a whole, make sure that the children are protected on the different islands. Thank you for being here, and let's work.
Children's rights expert consultant Mr. Niels Katzberg, along with Mrs. Shermina Powell Richardson, St. Martin's representative in the Kingdom Task Force for Children's Rights, held a consultation session with the Council of Ministers on Thursday, February 2nd. The ministers present were informed on the importance of improving children's situations on the island, the need for collaboration and cooperation among ministries to address the matter comprehensively, and the need for investment in the quality of care. Mr. Katzberg stated that investing in St. Martin's sovereignty is essential to build the wealth of the country. This means finding ways and means to increase the income base as well as change the mindset to underpin the progress of the sovereignty of St. Martin, two elements that go hand in hand. The ministers present were provided with statistics and real-life stories related to the youth of St. Martin, illustrating the gravity of the situation. The following is a presentation of the official 2017 vehicle tax tariffs, which include the price of the license plate. Drivers with an M or P license plate designation pay a fee of 287 guilders and 50 cents for gasoline-type vehicles and 762 guilders and 50 cents for diesel-type vehicles. Drivers with an SXM, MR, L, or PAR license plate designation will pay a fee of 287 guilders and 50 cents for gasoline-type vehicles and 762 guilders and 50 cents for diesel-type vehicles. Drivers with a taxi license plate designation pay a fee of 287 guilders and 50 cents for gasoline-type vehicles and 562 guilders and 50 cents for diesel-type vehicles. R license plate designations pay a fee of 312 guilders and 50 cents for gasoline-type vehicles and 762 guilders and 50 cents for diesel-type vehicles. Drivers of bus, G, and T license plate designations with 35 passengers or less pay a fee of 287 guilders and 50 cents for gasoline-type vehicles and 562 guilders and 50 cents for diesel-type vehicles. Drivers with a bus, G, or T license plate designation with 35 passengers or more pay a fee of 1,262 guilders and 50 cents for both gasoline and diesel-type vehicles. Drivers with a V license plate designation with a weight of less than 3,500 kilograms or 7,700 pounds will pay a fee of 287 guilders and 50 cents for gasoline-type vehicles and 762 guilders and 50 cents for diesel-type vehicles. Drivers with a V license plate designation with weight more than 3,500 kilograms or 7,700 pounds will pay a fee of 1,262 guilders and 50 cents for both gasoline and diesel-type vehicles. Drivers with a Z license plate designation with weight more than 3,500 kilograms or 7,700 pounds also pay a fee of 1,262 guilders and 50 cents for both gasoline and diesel-type vehicles. Motorbike MF license plate designations pay a fee of 207 guilders and 50 cents. Moped MF license plate designations pay a fee of 57 guilders and 50 cents. To view the list in its entirety, visit the official website of the Government of St. Martin at www.stmartingov.org. Remember, St. Martin, don't be late, pay for your plate. This public service announcement is brought to you by the Department of Communication and the Receiver's Office, Tax Administration. Please be reminded that the deadline for paying your 2017 motor vehicle taxes is Tuesday, February 28th, 2017. In continuing coverage of the National Health Insurance Conference held on January 26th and 27th, we featured a presentation of Dr. Stanley Lalta, a health economist with over 20 years' experience in teaching, training, consulting, and direct policy operational research in health matters in the Caribbean. Here is Dr. Lalta at the D.V. Little Bay Hotel.
NHI in itself, and I will show you what I mean by this, must begin to emphasize some more preventive care and how we focus on what are called the social determinants of health. It must emphasize efficiency, because what you do not want an NHI to do is keep replicating and paying for the current inefficiencies in the system. Thirdly, you must focus on equity, and there's a critical matter pertaining to equity, primarily because of interdependence of all residents, all citizens, and I will show what I mean precisely by equity. And lastly in all of this, NHI is not a one-time event. Every country in the world which has gone the route of NHI has had to make changes over time to make adjustments which are evidence-based, adjustments which altogether seek to keep doing better. Because if NHI is going to be an instrument of excellence, then that sort of rigorous analysis and monitoring must take place all the time. Just very quickly to point out what I mean by universal access, universal health coverage, requires that all residents, and all residents is where we begin to adopt what has come to be called a human rights approach. What are the rights of a citizen, the rights of a resident, the rights of persons? And using that human rights approach, what we want to do is to look at all residents having barrier-free access to a defined package of comprehensive services delivered efficiently with quality standards, adequately financed based on equity and ability to pay, so avoiding financial burden on any particular group. It also requires implementing policies which have a more multi-sectoral approach, which address the social determinants of health, which are crucial, especially with the rampant chronic diseases that we face, and the whole matter of being managed altogether by a strong national body. Generally, if I want to show what I'm looking at for universal coverage, it is this kind of diagram. Interlocking 4 simultaneous and interdependent lines of action. Access, the role of governance and stewardship in managing the overall system, in ensuring that there's quality and a regulatory framework. The matter of financing, and then how do we work together with other sectors so we have greater ability to address the social determinants. These public health measures pertaining to matters which I assume are quite well known, laws and regulations which ensure that there are certain standards that have to be met, and standards will determine some of the quality dimensions that we're looking for, what you want to do in food safety, etc., disease surveillance, quality standards, pharmacovigilance. Very crucial in all of this, given the influx or the likely influx of counterfeit medication into the system, and so intersectoral collaboration and planning. Altogether, it means that there is a critical dimension which we cannot ignore while the focus is so much on national health insurance. Why do we want to do this? Why do we want to pay attention to the social determinants? Take a look at this. Why is young Peter in the hospital? Because he has a bad infection in his leg and it may need amputation. And it could be any other condition. It could be a chronic disease or any other condition. I'm just using a situation like this. But why does he have an infection? Because, you know, he has a deep wound in his leg and it got infected. Why does he have this deep wound in his leg? Because he was playing in a junkyard near to his apartment building. There's some sharp, jagged steel there and he fell on it. But why was he playing in that junkyard? Because his neighborhood is kind of run down. A lot of kids play there and there's no one to supervise them. Why does he live in that neighborhood? Well, you know, because his parents can't afford a nicer place for him to live. Why can't his parents afford a nicer place for him to live? Because his dad is unemployed and his mom is only working part-time. So why is his dad unemployed? And we can keep going like this, drilling down. When you begin to talk about social determinants, these are the kinds of things we're addressing, whether we're talking about chronic diseases, contagious diseases, all the way down. Drilling down like this enables us to understand more deeply why focusing on financing alone or curative conditions alone is only the tip of the iceberg. And so I'd want to bring that in to the mix as we begin to look at national health insurance. Really, then, the financing part particularly, what are some of the critical lessons that the World Health Organization, other countries have reviewed what has been done in the developing, and other countries? Middle income, upper income, whatever you want to describe. And these are some of the critical lessons for health financing. Firstly, health financing can't be voluntary. Those with deep pockets will always get care in a voluntary system. Those without will not get access. So it can't be left to voluntary means. It has to be compulsory. It has to be mandatory. Example, the tax system in the UK and Sweden, and the social insurance systems that we've seen in Germany and in Netherlands. It can't be out of pocket. It has to be prepaid. Prepaid means contribution up front, because at the time when you show up for treatment, that's not the time when you have to look into your pocket to see whether you have money to pay for your health services.
Prime Minister William Marlin and Minister of Education, Culture, Youth and Sports, Ms. Sylvaria Jacobs, both issued press releases on the passing of the late Mr. George Frederick Adolphus York, who died on Thursday, February 2nd, days after his 100th birthday. In his statement, the Prime Minister recalled his days many years ago of going wilking with Mr. York and the late Mr. Amos Richardson walking from Middle Region to the Oyster Bay Reefs. In his release, he stated, quote, "I am sure many other people whose lives he impacted in his simple, quiet way would tell of their own memories of him, whether as a seasoned and avid domino player or as one who loved to tell jokes." Minister Jacobs, in her press release, states, "Mr. York was a pillar in our community and his legacy will live on forever. The stories of him fishing and picking wilks will live on through his children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, and all who were privileged to have learned from him for years to come. His sense of humor, love of life, playing dominoes, eating and resting well, while working and spending time with family and friends are examples for us all to live by. May St. Martin's cultural icon, Mr. Freddie York, live on in our memories forever. And finally, during the Wednesday, February 1st Council of Ministers press briefing, Minister of Education, Culture, Youth and Sports, Ms. Silveria Jacobs congratulated the school's athletes that participated in the recently held interscholastic athletic competition.
Interscholastic athletic competition was held over the weekend of January 27th, and some 12 young students who were chosen from St. Martin to represent St. Martin in insular competition with Curacao, Aruba, Bonaire. So just wanted to say congratulations to them. And last year, for the first time, we did this with one team of basketball and one volleyball secondary and basketball primary. So this was primary schools athletic meet, and the winners came from various schools, and I would like to congratulate them and implore them to continue to train hard so that we can represent St. Martin well. I believe we have some other students to field, so there will be more competitions as it goes along, but I always use this opportunity to big up our young people when I can. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us for this edition of 30 Minutes with Government. For video on demand, log on to the official website of the Government of St. Martin at www.stmartingov.org. Don't forget to visit us on Facebook and our YouTube channel. From all of us here at the Department of Communication, my name is Giselle Misudan York. Do have a pleasant day.